Hey and welcome everyone. This is Sanni Päkkönen. I'm here with Melinda Molnar, and it is our honor and pleasure to be here with you. This is gonna be the first recording that we do together on the 2023. So after this huge transition, which is still kind of going on, this transition from 2022 to 2023, and there's enough people and momentum on Earth, people living in this say cycle of ending of something, ending of period, ending of a year, ending of a cycle, and opening up into a new one. And there you can think of it as this like frequency wave, and we can hop into that and surf that wave, and that way utilize also these bigger movements that are becoming more accessible to us because there's so many people living in that and surfing that wave together. And we can then say receive the benefit of that wave and almost like bring it into our own lives so that there's more power in the changes that we make, the growth, the deepening, the centering, and those pieces that we are working that we want to take with us into this new season opening up before us. And this is Eternal Present YouTube channel, and we are here talking about different topics from the frequency point of view. So again, frequency, it goes deeper than just energy. Frequencies are these deep patterns that allows us to experience, and even material physical expressions are all frequency when we start breaking it down into smaller and smaller pieces. And there's this huge amount of frequency awareness that is expanding on Earth right now, meaning that people are becoming aware of themselves through frequencies. And it also brings this deeper empowerment that our bodies, physical bodies, organs, nervous system, also our minds, emotional fields, the whole soul of the human being, as well as our spirits, it's all communicating and creating and expressing through an as frequency from the heart of God or pure source living light. So we are going very, very deep on these talks, and there's also a lot of frequency transmission coming through. So again, if you have ears to hear, eyes to see, you might be receiving deep revelations and keys that can help you to move forward on your path, because this is all co-creation. We are all in this together. So it's wonderful to be here in the new year with you, Melinda.
Thank you, Sanni. Yes, it's wonderful to be here with you too. And what was coming in as you were speaking is addressing some different stages, because like you said, it's coming in. So for a lot of us, it's very easy to ride this wave. We've come into the time now where it's not an effort to look into ourselves and see a pattern and release it. The minute you notice it, it's just about releases. So we can really get this clarity inside us and feel that abundance coming in, the abundance that is just naturally present in the present moment. And the collective frequencies are holding the space for us to stay in that present moment longer and longer. And the division, though, for those, and I'm like kind of like calling out for those people who are just coming to this or just barely becoming aware of there's something, what's going on, but still deeply holding on to their patterns, let's say, that for someone like that, so I'm gonna paint a type, somebody who's lived in very controlled and controlling lives and ideologies. When they meet these new frequencies, it seems to me that there is a confusion. There is still quite a bit of fear of giving up that control. Yet it's almost like that water, the frequency as flow of water, just want to wash through them, dilute those controls, but their minds aren't yet calibrated to understand it. And they want to, well, it's a form of confusion. They want to grab on. me see. So not necessarily a question in there, but as to, it's almost like we're feeling the wave of that also. There's these and there's these. What is your
Exactly.
reflection?
Yeah, and that's a really beautiful aspect of a human nature, is that discomfort with unknown. Every single human being has gone through this and is going through this as like this fleshy identity. Like we have this human identity and then our spirit identity and the soul that is connecting those two. And this, when I say the human identity, I'm really speaking about this like the soul level that is deeply in the body and experiencing the world through the physical senses and relationships, etc. And fears, confusions, the fear of unknown and the mystery, all of those are very real things for that part of ourselves. And it's not something that we would need to somehow deny or ignore or try to get rid of, even on like the spiritual journey, but it's rather something that we can acknowledge as, okay, well, this is part of my existence here, but it depends where we respond from, like whether you respond from those reactive spaces based on the history and the past story, say based on who you were last year, for example, or do you respond from the spirit that is completely living off of that renewal frequency? It's like I call it the technology or light technology of renewal, which say, I have a direct revelation of this through eternal Christ. And again, I speak beyond any religious dogmas here. Eternal Christ is this aspect of the God source who is a master of that renewal through the true forgiveness frequency, but also other ways of like, you're no longer the same person that you were even 2 minutes ago, or 30 seconds ago, or even 2 seconds ago. You're no longer that person that you were a month ago, last year, 10 years ago, whatever it is. And of course, there's other wonderful, great individuals who's also embodied this revelation of truly being in the presence. And how often we hear that, like, just be in the presence. But there's this greater revelation and know-how, like this piece about know-how that is coming to earth and available to people who are opening up to that dimension. Is like, what does the renewal mean? Like literally being able to renew your cell and the frequency and the resonance of yourself in this moment to a higher frequency, say healthier frequency or more abundant frequency or whatever it is, right? And this renewal is available for those individuals who are truly ready to step into their, say, spirit mission. I call it the spirit mission, when you get out of your own way and you start serving the greater benefit. So you're serving the eternal purpose, right? This kind of renewal is available because it is required to have that as your tool, to have that as your ally, to be able to show up the best possible way for the good of all, right? Instead of like scrambling it just with your own resources and by pulling from your past and history. Now with that renewal frequency, again, it can be like the unknown may be really even more confusion if you've been identifying yourself through specific patterns and stories and experiences. It's also, even if they would be distorted and uncomfortable, there's also this deeper safety in them because they've been defining who you are. They have been, the solid blocks that are holding your back, for example. And now as those start crumbling down and as the renewal happen, the human part identity of ourselves may feel really threatened by it. And it's again those pieces that were rooted in those, say, deceptions or distorted or lack realities, scarcity realities. They will need to die with those structures, and death is always going to be somewhat uncomfortable, right? Nothing in us wants to die. Not even the distortions. They are going to fight for the life, because we have been deeply programmed for life, like every single human being. And that's where the discomfort happens. But again, with that greater renewal frequency, which is, by the way, coming through now as well for those who are willing to receive it, it helps you to navigate through it, because it keeps pointing you toward the eternal self, meaning that pointing you toward that part of you that you already were before you even came into this lifetime, and you will be when you leave from this lifetime. So there's this deeper stability that is available there. There's deeper resourcefulness that is available there, because you are resourcing from things that are eternal, meaning that you cannot let go of things that are eternal. That's just not possible. That doesn't even make sense with the mind, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't be eternal, right? So you can only release that which is temporary, that which may have served certain kind of purpose, either through the success or challenge or even pain. But as we are moving into this new season, none of that, we can take that with us, because you're no longer that you were even a minute ago, right? So that is a very simple key, just handing it out to anybody who's ready to receive it. That affirmation for yourself, like, I'm no longer that person that I was yesterday. Because if you truly live in that knowing, if you live in that knowing with every cell of your body, your cells will start resonating in that renewal frequency, and it will give you a new beginning this moment, this moment, this moment, this moment, based on all of that eternal wisdom and knowledge that you already have, right? So it's like just going further and higher up from that space. So there's so many people coming home to this knowing, and it's really exciting time to be alive. But for some of us, it may look like the ground is shaking big time. And for many of us, it already started last year. Big decisions, life-changing decisions. You are on the right track, and we are all moving forward in this way now.
Yes, we are. And this is what I would call, without any religious dogma behind it, true salvation. Because in that renewal frequency, the forgiveness is right there. You are given a new chance for life every moment. And it's interesting how that came out. Yes, without any other ideologies placed behind it. We are simply every moment in that forgiveness, salvation, renewal, presence, love, and all those equal that eternal light. Like living by the awareness of our heritage, being from the eternal light.
Yes. Ooh, it is so profound. Exactly. It is so simple and so profound. And with that, also wanted to bring through this piece of the salvation that you brought up. And again, I love that you spoke about the salvation, and there's so much of this, say, spiritual ego around, like, I've already done it, I've already tried all these things, been there, done that, and etc., etc. Like, I don't need help. Now, if somebody is carrying that kind of attitude, whether it's conscious or subconscious, they are still basing their current reality to the past, because they are referring like, oh, I've already done that, so that wouldn't work, for example. Or I already know that, so there's nothing more for me to learn from there. So that kind of pieces are the dangerous aspects of the human mind that starts to think that you have everything figured out. And there's nothing wrong with it, right? Because it also creates a certain kind of reality that this kind of thinking exists. And then it's just simply that what you put out there, you also receive. If you are not willing to be corrected, if you're not willing to be advised, if you're not willing to receive help, you're not going to get any of it. You're not going to get correction, advice, or help, right? And you're just going to get the same old, or say seemingly this. There's so much of this like false empowerment where we go through, and I've been there myself, so there's no shame to speak about it, is that there's this like what so many people call these initiations, and there are initiations, there are true initiations that can help you to move through, like these breakthroughs that help you to grow and go to the next level of your work, of your embodiment, of your happiness, etc. But there's so much of this kind of like bypassing, or the way that initiations are spoken in, and also in the healing communities where I come from, where it's like when something challenging happens and people struggle, it's, oh well, this is another initiation. So it's always like this interesting like false empowerment, rather than just admitting that there's something that I'm not getting. Instead of trying to make it into this like, well, this was just another initiation, and then, you know, a year later the same thing happens again, and again another initiation. Like, people are stuck in that hamster wheel of initiations that you will never actually upgrade or graduate from it. And it's very sneaky, because it provides this like temporary like empowerment where you feel like you got the breakthrough, but then it spins you right back into that same wheel. That kind of wheels are breaking down huge way right now, so that people can actually move through those glass ceilings, shatter them, and move through the next layer of the being. And this is where the true wisdom, frequency, and the whole, it's not just the frequency, it's a whole templating. If you think about, you know, architecture, the very basic drawing of humanity, there's a wisdom that is there. And it's like the architect of the earth, like co-creator of the earth, is that wisdom. And wisdom is not necessary to know all the things, but wisdom is the willingness to be corrected and willingness to receive advice. And there's so much more that is coming alive through this wisdom piece, but it's being activated. Like, that's templating in our DNA is being activated like never before. And those who have the humble heart to look deep and actually like be willing to be corrected. And I'm saying this so many times, I used to be one of the most stubborn people that I have been with in this life. So I'm like pointing the finger right here. It took some serious humbling to get like myself out of my own way and really realize like there's so many things. And this is even like if you receive a teaching, but you're not actually receiving it in the heart. There's something in you blocking, like, I already know this. I've already been there, kind. So those are coming down big time. And this means humbled hearts. Seriously, our heart minds will be humbled this year, big way. And for those who are willing to go with it, and instead of fighting against it, you will be rewarded beyond measure, because those are the spaces where the treasures and resources of God, intelligence, and eternal, and Christ, and all this, like the living light, is starting to move through our lives, and instead of us limiting it based on what we think is right.
Oh, beautiful. So it brought up a few things. It's so interesting that when we do these, I always have a few things spinning here and there, because there's no more linear thinking. We open up a lot of space here. One is that I'm already forgetting is actually this. A lot of people say that they forget things and look at it as a problem. When you live in the present moment, what happened 5 seconds ago is the past. So there is, again, the renewal. It's not necessarily forgetting as we used to think of it. It is, I am here right now, and right now, and right now. Not necessarily a question there. Maybe if you want to comment on it. About this, what you said that you were stubborn and that there's a wall. Also, the way that comes in for me is that is the masculine. That's the mind's, you know, I want to limit it, frame it, control it, because then I know how far it is, what is mine. And the feminine is the one that flows, that wanders, that creates. And we know, we feel that the feminine frequencies are kind of like turning over and shifting the frequency balance between the masculine and the feminine. And when one shifts, it shifts the other. And also, we're going beyond that. It's not masculine and feminine, but the one that holds both. It's like the way I see it is we are coming home to that one. We're playing down here, we're shifting here because we're getting into the narrowing down of coming to that brilliant point. Was there a question there again? I know there was before I started speaking. Okay, yes. So I do notice that a lot of women, especially in the Western world, where there's been a lot of women who are left alone with children, single parenting, or women who are not in relationship, they also have to do the masculine part. And a lot of them find comfort in that blocking, in controlling, because then I feel safe. I know where I'm at. And all that now is shifting too. So this idea of being shaken and the ground shaken, it happens on so many levels. And I think I'm going into a very wide space here. So let's bring it back. Actually, I don't think I have a specific question. It's to comment on that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, I love that you bring in the the waters that are exploring all around. First of all, I love that you spoke about the space beyond the masculine and feminine, and the space beyond polarity. And this is exactly, where, say, how I operate with eternal Christ. I go beyond the space of the genders, and that's like the human mind is so obsessed by the genders and polarities and masculine and feminine, always needing to split into two. And it's, of course, again, that's part of the human identity, but we must begin to understand what's in the space beyond that polarity. And for me, like I just want to say this out loud too, that when I'm speaking about eternal Christ, for me there is the he and the she in that same, right? There is both of the polarities are in the one unit. So it's like this Christed, brilliant, undistorted aspect and presence of source and living light. And there's, of course, different expressions of that takes form of women and men. And we do live in this world of polarity, so we can't just bypass, obviously, any of those challenges that come with those, like, say, those polarities not being in harmony, but them fighting against each other, because that's essentially what's happening within everyone who is moving through, say, some deep suffering spaces or lack spaces, is that there is lack of that inner harmony with those polarities. There's this war happening in our own inner experience, versus there's somebody could be in an actual physical war field, and they could be feeling completely at peace, completely empowered, completely unified, even when they are on that huge battlefield, right? So what is happening in our internal worlds is the key to land these powers and frequencies of this new season coming online. There is no such thing than external experience first. Every single external experience is an internal experience first. And from there, it's a frequency that happens on the inside. It's a dimension that you walk and exist on the inside. It's a level and a layer where you exist. I don't like to speak levels too much, because the human mind goes into like comparing, but it is all about where you are within yourself and how you resonate, and based on that, your physical manifestation is coming from that space. So a lot of those individuals who have gone through that, like the shaking crown and conflicts and just a lot of stuff, right? Detoxing thousands of years of stuff from the DNA and the collective field as well. This year will be a year of success for you, because you will be harvesting those fruits that you were planting last year when you were doing that clearing. There's a lot of people who just very quickly, the boat will turn into the greater winds, just like that. So a lot of breakthroughs are coming online. Others are just entering that. So also like remembering that patience of how much we are clearing out, say, even like think about the men that have been pulled, say fathers that have been pulled out of home for whatever reason, like addictions or fear of commitment or recklessness, whatever reason it is. And that kind of like deeper patterns that have been running on the father's line are being also accelerated right now, because they are coming up to be broken down for those who really have eyes to see them. And so we must continue this deep prayer in our systems for other people, because we can never truly blame anybody for, because when we look at who would we blame? Well, let me just point my finger back to like 2,000 years back for this person. Wait, no, 10,000 years back for this. Wait, no, like there's nobody that we can actually blame of these actions that are happening. That doesn't mean that we would need to be, say, just accepting the suffering or violence or abuse, for example. Absolutely not. It is time also the year of like putting the foot down. It's like the tough love in a way that is coming with, and in its new meaning is like, well, we must forgive others, because somebody who have been abuser for 50 years of their life can wake up tomorrow with this renewal frequency and be free. And we are the ones who can contribute to that by being the mirror and the embodiment. So we are like offering that gift, like, here it is. Hey, soul, you've been lost for so long. Like, here it is how you do it. Let me show you how to do it. It always starts from within, right? And those who have gone through a lot of trauma, patience, especially in this time, because there's so many individuals even listening to this. What I can see is that these things in the heart and soul, but your body is responding by like a panic attack or such, because your body is still holding on to the trauma, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, it's not a sign of weakness. It is just simply that you will need to be patient with this renewal frequency coming in. And remember that even if that is happening in your body, you always, even in this moment, you have that opportunity to come and make your choice. Do you choose to live in that timeline that is stuck in your body, or do you choose to live in eternal renewal timeline? When you make that choice again and again and again and commit to it with all of your might, with all of your heart, even when there is emotional reaction coming up, commit even beyond that, I will tell you, you will get results. And I've seen traumas falling off of people's bodies just like that when they really receive this revelation of the renewal coming in. So compassion for each other too, and compassion in not a form that, hey, let me carry your distortions, but compassion in the form that, man, like these people have been going through so much. How can I be that mirror, that hand of God or hand of higher solution that can help to pull this person out of that ditch? Like, what can I do today? And sometimes, again, that means that we do need to get out of our own ways, because sometimes the ego is like, no way, I'm going to do that. But these are the times when a lot of resolutions are going to be happening. A lot of, say, what I would call the redemption, like just really drop the story, like be done with it. Don't carry that with you. It's not going to help you. That frequency is coming in more and more. And of course, those pieces are easier said than done. But again, there is this support. It's like a wind that is coming, and it's time, my child. It's time. Let's do this. And that's something that, again, just catch it in this moment if it resonates, because it's a real deal. It can wipe out thousands of years of stuff in 1 second. That's how efficient it is.
Beautiful. Yes. I love that you commented on the body, because I was, as you were speaking before, I was going to bring that in, because the body has to do all this. The body has to release the frequencies and increase the vibration. And that's uncomfortable for many, or even more than uncomfortable. And whenever the body feels this discomfort, and for many, it is in the heart area, the mind comes in with the fear. Oh my gosh, what's happening to my heart? Am I having a heart attack or whatnot? Depends how it comes in, whether it's fast heartbeat or this sensation of squeezing, compression. And to allow, now I'm not saying if you really feel like you're having a heart attack, yes, seek medical advice, but we are navigating frequencies that we have not before, as individuals, as collective. And imagine that a very dense structure is being shifted, right? And the information that's coming in is different than it used to be before. So this shift might be a squeeze, a push, a pain, whatnot, pressures releasing, heavy breathings, just to be aware of that also. On a personal note, the other day I received a treatment, a very mild chiropractic treatment, just barely pushing the fingers. And I had an old trauma that happened to my body come up. And I started to breathe so heavy, it sounded like as if I was crying, but I wasn't. And the doctor's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm totally fine." I'm totally fine. It's processing out. Those things can happen. Stay in your body, right? Observe your body, because that's the other thing. We are coming into our bodies more. The disconnection that used to be where we would leave the body when a trauma happened, we are now experiencing everything in the body. We are becoming that one, the spirit in body, spirit, soul in body, a unit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for sharing. This is a wonderful example, and this happens to so many people. Physical reactions, even if you're someone who hasn't really had, say, abusive background in this lifetime, but you may be actually purging abuse from on the cell level and DNA level as well, and so just like allowing this, however it's moving through, not getting too attached to the story, because that's another thing that has been so rampant in the healing community, is like when there's this like revelation that happens or insight that happens, is that immediately like attaching to it, like, okay, this what has happened, like I was in my past lifetime, I was killed by being drowned in the water, and that's why I'm like being afraid of this water this time. Like those are great insights, but with this like true understanding of eternal presence, you cannot carry even those with you. It's like, and it's really important, if you're working with healers, that healers understand this, that you're no longer the same person that you were when you were on the last session with them. So that, because there's a lot of this happening when there's a natural release of a trauma happening, either the spiritual ego wants to catch it and hold it as a story and then continues to feed it, or a healer continues to feed it because they are looking at you based on what they saw last time, right? This happens in such like subtle ways. And for example, when I started coming aware of frequencies, I stopped going to any of the healers, because just for the protection, just for the moments of like, well, I want my discernment to become really clear, and I don't want to tap into anybody's ideas, because only idea that I want to get is from God's mind. And so that's how it started. And now I have mentors and teachers and things, but it required that about 2-year period where I didn't study anything other than in my meditations and dreams, because that was the time of being groomed by the Holy Spirit into this work. And now, as moving out of it, I'm aware of like I can see where somebody's thinking is an influence, and now I can say pick up if there's a key for me. I can benefit from it, but I'm not just like merging into it blindly, which is something that a lot of empathic individuals have to be really careful with, is merging into people's stories and their stories about you, or your soul stories, because again, the soul is the one that has a history, and it's the soul that oftentimes likes to tell this like heroine or heroic story or a love story or some whatever it is. And being the storyteller and the writer of your book, but writing your book from the presence and being willing to be free from those stories. Stories are great, and I love stories so deeply. So there's just a difference between merging into the story after it's already cleared out, versus telling the story knowing that that's already the past, so it doesn't influence you if you talk about it, right? It's the same about the future as well, and this year will be so powerful for manifestations to come through. There's a lot of money and wealth that is changing hands. Money is being redirected on the planet in big ways right now, beyond our understanding. There's huge prosperity currents that are directing abundance and money and material wealth as well to the hands that are actually going to put it back to the new earth creation and the heaven on earth, the people who actually need it, to the structures that actually are needed on earth to create that coherence and more unifying higher ground that we can operate from. So this year is really the foundation. The money change will already start happening, and it's already happened. I've seen overnight situations. We're talking about large sums of the money, but it will pick up the next 2 or 3 years more. But again, for those who know that are here for big things, like your mission is big, just hold on to that knowing, because you are probably going to be someone who's going to receive a lot of like also financial support to it. And we are talking about this thing with when your high spirit becomes deeply embodied and is serving the eternal purpose, serving the God source, not just your self-centered ideas, but just the, whatever is serving the greatest benefit. When you walk out the door with your high mission, your spirit mission walks out the door as you, and there's this other person that walks down the streets with a bag of money and hands that money to you. Those are the kind of things that are about to start happening. And I know it's funny to even think about it. Like the mind goes like, well, that's not possible. Oh, I see this all the time, and we haven't even scratched the surface yet. There's going to be so many weird coincidences and miracles happening where wealth and abundance and resources, also other forms of abundance, like whatever it is, just mental resources, knowledge, etc., teachers, they will just be directed more and more toward those who are ready to receive. So this year is huge for that willingness to receive, which again is a build up on from that space of the humble heart, like being willing to be corrected. And I have spoken about this difference between the personal mission and spirit mission. I'm just going to really briefly share this, is that if you have been on your personal mission, it would still leave you unfulfilled, right? So say if you reach a goal or you fulfill a certain milestone, you would still feel like, wait, something is missing, something is lacking. Or you may be experiencing lack of money or clients or whatever it is. That is a sign that you've been following the personal mission instead of the spirit mission. And personal mission is not necessarily negative. It's just oftentimes personal missions are those stepping stones toward the spirit mission. So it may be like an education piece. It may be this period in the life that traveling to that power place on earth to receive information, whatever it is. So those are the stepping stones. But if it doesn't bring you instant fulfillment, you're not fully serving the spirit mission yet. And so many people are coming home to their spirit mission right now. It's huge how much holy fire is coming through right now. So those personal missions are merging into the spirit mission. When you're serving spirit mission, you are 100% provided for. 100% provided for in the spirit, mentally, emotionally, financially, all the ways. Oftentimes that transition may be a little awkward, meaning that, again, I've spoken about these dry seasons, that you have to walk through a dry season so that it's like really clear that, okay, I know that I walk on this dimension, even when my physical reality is not reflecting it yet. That the physical dimension is always lagging behind, so it takes a little while for it to show up also on your physical. I've seen 100% success rate here when somebody really focuses on walking in the spirit within themselves. Their physical manifestation will absolutely follow. It has to. It's just the science. It's like that's how the spirits and frequencies work. So that is like the word of encouragement. Just keep going, keep looking into the spaces where you can be corrected within yourself.
Love hearing those words, because they're not just words. I feel so much beautifulness in my body when you say those, and so many points to touch on. The one that comes in right now is when you are in alignment with your spirit mission, and again, into the physicality, right? Because we are embodied for a reason. And what it starts to feel in your body, there's certain feelings. There's this feeling like you've been touched by whatever name we want to call it, right? It's something that you don't see, but you feel, you know. And for now, I'm gonna call it spirit. When it comes into your body and expands your heart, there's that movement, and with it carries that knowingness, that unquestionable knowingness that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And almost the way I experience it, it's almost as if a spin up, like it is clicking into all of a sudden a different or a more clear platform of frequencies where there's an understanding of my place in the collective, or there's no more the me, Melinda, the individual. It becomes the humanity, universe, spirit, God, all those. And to walk in those spaces, it is like heaven on earth, right? It's well, I'm going to come up with some words to describe some of those. And since more and more of us are experiencing this, and this is available, I just see Mother Earth turn in this glee that we are here, that her children are hearing it. And again, no question. I guess today it's comments, right? It's observations of, for those who may feel that the world is falling apart. It's, if you slightly shift your gaze, you can see the paradise already sitting in here.
Exactly. And that's like Mother Earth, like in the Earth's higher form. Every awakened heart and mind it's like water for that Mother Earth, that like the heaven on earth aspect, the new earth. And it is so incredible because everything in that dimension works differently. Everything that we see here has that higher frequency form of it, including waters, including air, including all the things that we know as like the nature. It is the most beautiful ecosystem that is waiting for us there in those the seas and the mountains and the forests of the new earth, which is being built right now through even this conversation. And that's the piece, again, like in so many teachers have been pointing to this, is like, well, it's within you, it's within you, it's within you. That's where you really manifested it also in this physical reality as you come home to that reality on the inside. And there's no shortcut around it. Nobody's going to come outside and hand you that. They can hand you keys and push you even to the door, but you will be the one who needs to walk through that, take the key and walk through that door into that reality on the inside. And sometimes it requires this like commanding your mind, like really commanding your mind, like, hey, mind, I see the story that you've been living in. I don't like it. I don't like how it ended. It's not in alignment with me anymore. I refuse to believe that that's my true life, like how it's going to end up, for example. And you command your mind to stop telling that story. And sometimes it takes some time for you to strengthen that higher mind inside of you, for it to become your natural state. So again, it's all about showing up, showing up, showing up. I so often say that your spirit identity in the body is like a muscle, that the more you strengthen it, the stronger it becomes, until it just is, right? And then you don't fluctuate in and out anymore. Many people are fluctuating right now, and it's okay. It's part of the journey. And there are people who are also afraid of their own power, like fully stepping into the power. There are individuals who are coming from the wounded healer archetype, which is very outdated, that say you would need to sacrifice something in order to fully be in your healing power, to be able to help to heal others. There's so many of those stories that are totally outdated already, because again, now there's the upgrade happening. It's a lot quicker than, like, say, the iPhone phones. They come like every year, every 2 years with the new phone, and this update is happening about 1,000 million times quicker. And again, like, jumping into it without a solid foundation can be also like very like just like, you know, the snowball start rolling. And that's why it's so important to allow that in the creation time, peel back the layers, continue to work, and then there will be a moment when you take these quantum leaps. And there's so many here who are listening who's been taking quantum leaps already, which you feel like, okay, the foundation is new, now I can hop into a little bit further out. But do not hop before your foundation is strong. It's so important, because if somebody goes into the higher states, and again, this oftentimes happens with like psychedelic medicines, etc., like people go into these higher states before their foundation is ready to go to those spaces, and it actually just tears you apart more. It can collapse the lower DNA level dimensions that you need to ascend and transcend into that higher space. So if you cannot go to those spaces with sober mind, it's highly likely that you're not supposed to go there yet. And I tell you, like, going to those spaces with sober mind is about 110% better. It is the most blissful thing, to be able to just know that any second, any given moment, you can tap into those spaces and be the embodiment and a living testimony. So there doesn't have to be this difference between your spirit and body where you'll have to like become addicted to those higher states to receive information and whatever and continue to go back to it. That's old school. That's very, very old school. I tell you, get on with the program. It's happening in the moment, and it is incredibly powerful force that is available for you, and that will flip your mind into the very altered state of consciousness, which is actually the most normal state. It's our natural state. It's a very extraordinary state, and within that, it's the most ordinary state that we can know. But that upgrade is happening, and it's a very exciting time to be alive just because of that, because we get to understand what it means to be high while we're fully grounded in our bodies, in our lives, and we can take the action from those spaces without any external substance taking us in those spaces.
The way I see that is the ascension and then the ascension, because whatever is within is without. So we don't go outside of us anymore. Everything is here in the body. Right? We don't need to leave out for the spirit. It's right here inside us. when you were talking about the mind earlier, that I don't remember exactly what you said, but something about, hey, mind, we're going to do it this way. What comes in is like the bodyguard. The mind was like a bodyguard. It was programmed to protect us. And now we're walking on different grounds. And on these grounds, our guide is the heart. And it's almost like turning towards our bodyguard who says, don't go there, you can't do that. And giving him an enormous hug to feel that now we're walking from this space, from the heart. It's okay. And with that, this calibration happens where the mind then starts to understand its new place, and it can release all the weight it used to hold and work with you in its wonders of what it does. And when you have that coherence, then walking in those higher grounds is but the most natural place to be and thing to do.
Yes, so it is. Yes. It's again like we don't want to get rid of the ego.
No.
Right. That would be not wise.
We can't. How? I mean, why? It was put here for a reason with us. It's a beautiful design. We don't need to throw anything out.
Exactly. Except the distorted patterns, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Ego, when it becomes your best friend, and when ego starts to work for your spirit and becomes your ally, and I love the wording of bodyguard, as you said, it truly is the most incredible bodyguard that you can have, because, well, it just impacts everything, because everything that you experience here through your nervous system and the soul level, body level, it's always connected to mind. Whether it is the space between the mind and body, or space between the mind and the emotions, or space between the mind and the free will, and all these different things. Mind is like this web that is connected to so many different systems included in the being a human. And oftentimes that mind is labeled as ego. Now, when ego becomes your best friend, your lover, your co-creator, your ally, it is the most powerful tool that you can have. And especially those, I'm speaking to especially those who have very active minds. That active mind will be your greatest tool, your greatest superpower ever. And you would be surprised what you can create through that powerful mind. So again, it's all about commanding it, training it to come underneath your spirit identity, getting out of your own way by leaning into that. I think I mentioned before in the previous talks about leaning into eternal, and frequency level work has been just so helpful for many, because it's the way that I share it is very somatic, is that we don't go into higher states without taking our bodies with us. We are moving through those layers, dimensions, transformations, and transcendence with the body, with your DNA. And so it's very much like deeply embodied experience and empowering experience, because we need to move away from this idea of getting answers from other people. Like, I've had some clients who go to, like, they have issues, right? And it's very normal to look for help from all different sources. But people who go for 10 different healers, all kinds of different body work, all kinds of different readings from all different traditions, all kinds of plant medicines and whatever, is like just this spiritual shopping around. And there's nothing wrong with it, but that's again, like, that's what you're gonna get. You're not gonna get a one solid working solution if you are always looking for, just bits and pieces from all over, right? And on a frequency level, when we come truly understand that what it means to be in that 0 point, then anything that you feel guided to do would be working immediately. You would reduce 99 things that you need to do into one thing that you need to do, or max say 2-3 things that you need to do. That's how powerful it is. And I am speaking about my direct experience over and over and over again, and direct experience through clients that I've been working with. So this time also is a time of less is more, right? When you receive the key, you're gonna get through, like, you're gonna save about 3 years your healing work by just going to that space. And it can be very simple how it comes, but it just starts to hit home for you when you are actually in time, in presence to receive it, instead of like looking for the answers all over the map. So that's a single, very powerful key right there, is to receive peace that can, like the less is more peace, is that you don't necessarily have to say, you know, I've had clients who's asked, like, can I do a 3-hour session with you? I'm saying no, absolutely not, because extending that time doesn't actually bring you more. We need to get out of those thinking patterns, because say extending frequency level work for hours wouldn't give you more frequency work. It doesn't work that way. Even a short period, like even there can be 1 minute of the frequency work that actually does everything that we need to do, and the rest of the time we're just integrating it, right? And the efficiency that happens on the frequency level, it goes beyond the linear space and time, and we cannot even approach it with the old thinking of what is more and what is less. We have to start looking at these things from the spiritual aspect. And this is where my words are getting, like, I can't explain it any further than here. So please hear me by the spirit right now, because there's this transmission coming through. And I feel like there was one more thing that I wanted to share there. Oh, like that piece about being on point. And I feel like you also touched it a few times there, Melinda, is that when the less is more, the pathway is also getting more and more narrow. And it means that we really need to be on point with the frequencies that we generate and what we also express in this world. Because if you say one thing and your frequency is not aligned with it, it is going to start pulling you out, and big time, right? It's not only going to keep you stagnant, but it's also going to start destroying you from the inside like a cancer. That's why there's been so much cancer on Earth. It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence, because that misalignment there is literally starting to kill yourself from the inside. And excuse me by using these strong words, but that's how it looks like on a frequency level. There's death on the inside when that kind of misalignment happens. So it is more important than ever, because these higher frequencies are becoming available to us, is that we actually are transparent and authentic what we say. So whatever is the frequency in our hearts, we need to be able to express it. Or if it's not something that, I'm not saying that you'll need to go and tell all your secrets and like all that. No, you can be quiet, but it's better to be quiet with those pieces than say something that is not truthful, because any kind of like lies and manipulations and that kind of stuff, it is going to get more and more intense on this higher frequency. So it's really, really important to be honest. Be first and foremost, be honest with ourselves, and then find that courage to be honest with other people around us. And people will start seeing this also on, like, there's a lot of, say, life coaches and healers and stuff online who have this whole like social media like phase, but then they are on their personal life, they are not that person at all. It's shocking how much we see that then these individuals are actually acting totally against their own teachings in their personal life. They are not embodying what they're teaching. Run away from those people. And this, because this is really a time we need to learn from those who are actually walking the talk and are honest about their, it's okay to make mistakes. We all are humans. Every human being can fail us, right? We can fail ourselves as humans. But the piece that, let's not pretend that we are further than we are, because that's not going to help anybody, right?
Oh, beautiful. So many things, so many messages in there. And you speaking, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna maybe talk on this and talk on this, and then get to and then I forget. But on that last note, we are coming to the point where I'm just gonna call it sixth sense, is becoming cleaner And we can spot those, like when somebody's speaking something that's out of alignment, the way their eyes look, the muscles in their faces. And we have this, every human being has this, even if they have not done any frequency work or any kind of refinement of the sensory work. And now it's becoming even more clear to us. And also, when you hear somebody talk that's not alignment with them, what do you say? You know, do you go along with the story? Do you stand in your truth and allow them, hold the space for them to maybe come back to their truth? There's so many elements now coming in for that authority that you hold within yourself, towards yourself, and towards others, towards your environment. And since we are doing this as a collective, it is allowing for these new understandings to come into the, I guess, what would you call that? The typical culture that we live in, that probably no time from now, it will simply just be truth, because it will be smelled a mile away if somebody isn't standing in that. There were other things I wanted to say, but I can't remember right now because those were a minute ago.
Yeah, that by the way will start, you know, it probably will start happening people more and more, that we may not remember things that happened yesterday just because like the presence that is happening. My husband is like that. Like if you ask him, he doesn't always, he just like he's just blank. And he's extremely, you know, he's drawing the wisdom, and everything that he needs to know is coming through, but all the unnecessary things are just slipping away. And many awakened say teachers have also experienced this. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you are like ungrounded. So I guess that's the other side of the coin of like the distortion of that would be ungroundedness. But let me see, what was the thing there? Here we go. There was a piece that I wanted to comment to.
Yes, there was
that you can smell it from mile. And what do you do? That's right. What do you do? It's really important, again, that pointing the finger piece is not working anymore on earth. That judgment that comes from that space, it just pulls you into the battlefield where there's really no answers. So in those spaces, it's always about remembering that, well, I am renewing even in this moment, and receiving that information of how to respond from eternal space is the most important thing, because it's going to be really unique with everyone. Oftentimes, if it's someone that say comes to me for advice, I do speak it out, right? And I point out some like suggestions and things that they can discover empowerment within themselves. If it's not that kind of situation, I'm not going to try and come and be the teacher or healer, because that's not going to help anybody, right? And so I'm just settling into my own presence, and I will continue to be the mirror of that, the renewal and the potential that is available, and whatever is needed in that moment. I'll just continue to be that embodiment and presence for that moment. I've seen a lot of that kind of things happen. I don't even have to speak about it, but then say somebody's reaching out a month later and they've moved through and they got the note, you know, in their own empowered way, in their unique way. And I've seen this happening with other people too, with their family members, like when there's some certain conversations that cannot really be had because the languaging is so not received, say religious, spiritual pieces. And just doing that, having that conversation in the frequency level is already enough. It's actually more powerful than physical language even. So that takes you a long way, to have those spaces of compassion and forgiveness and mirroring, but also challenging, you know, because we don't want to see our beloveds suffering. So there's also like this, I'm going to push you to the edge so you can find your wings. So, and that kind of instructions, like it's going to be always unique for everyone, which is all about listening the instruction in each moment that comes through. And that's when, again, you're not sourcing your answers based on the judgments or the past, but you're sourcing it in the moment. And sometimes it's surprising what comes up. You know, I've had some of the most say, spiritually empowering conversations with somebody that I would never expect to have those conversations with. And we need to continue to open up and stop expecting that people are a certain way based on what we see or what we know about them or what we don't know about them, right? We need to stop expecting and making that future for them, because it's not going to help them to then change. Because somebody can change even after 50 years of a certain pattern, they can change like this. And we need to continue to see that potential for them. And that's what I do with every single individual that I'm interacting with, whether it is somebody in a grocery store or with you right now, Melinda, here, or with a client. I always start with seeing your pure potential. I always start by talking to your spirit. Like, all the other things comes next, but like the spirit, talking to your pure potential, talking to your timeless eternal self, that's where we base on this presence and this container, and that's where we start operating from, because that's the space where we're not bound by what's about to happen or what has happened. And so making it that dedication. So there's a less, and this year there's a less and less of separation between, say, your spiritual practice and your actual life. There's so much of this, even like these retreats, like, what are you retreating from when you go to a retreat? And I use that word as well. I mean, I hold retreats and stuff, so it's not like we can't use it, but it's such an interesting, like, wait, what? Like, what are we retreating from? Are you retreating from your normal life and go into this like alternative reality? Or like that kind of stuff is also old school, and we'll need to start changing those ideas that when you go into a meditation, that's when you're connected. Well, take that connection into the busiest moments of your day. Take it with you wherever you go. Make everything about eternal living source and God and truth, right? So that you're no longer just, being with God or source when you pray, but you're in the prayer. Everything that you do for that eternal purpose. There's no longer a difference between those, right? So that's what's happening more and more and more for people. There's so much momentum available around that. And it's a really exciting time, again, because these are the people who take that awareness with themselves, whatever they do. And that's where we actually physically build this new earth as well, not just in our hearts, but that's where that what is inside of our hearts will start transmitting, because I'm not checking off anymore. I'm online all the time, right? And so if you make that your priority this year, it will take you a long way. And I want to start wrapping up here, because I'm aware that this is a long recording here. So the last thing I want to say here is that, and we can maybe make another recording around this too, but this year is the year of overflow for many. Not just filling up your cups, but actually overflowing your cups in all different ways, spiritually, materially, all different ways. And this is because the generation and the wave of individuals, when I say generation, I don't speak about age necessarily, but a spiritual generation of individuals who are on earth are being activated now big way, which means that we really start giving and putting down system and structures that are truly helping other people. And for that purpose, there needs to be an overflow, because we need to be provided for living success and thrive and abundance, and then give from that overflow, so that we're not fluctuating with that giving, right? But that we are really solid in that eternal prosperity that is flowing through. And this is really exciting, because I've been waiting for so many individuals. I've seen that overflow piece, that key and that open door for so many people that I work with. And now I'm like, yes, it's gonna like hit in. It's gonna hit in and be grounded, including myself and my husband too. Like, we're also on the same board, this evolution with everyone. And yourself, yes. Like, receive it like it's already yours, because it really is an eternal, it is already yours. So that's the note that I want to finish the conversation in. And I'm curious if you have anything you want to add before we wrap up.
This was a beautiful ending, and I hope a lot of people heard what you just said, because there's so many keys coming through that I could feel it in my whole body. And even if this was the only thing that you said throughout this, that blessed so many people. So thank you again for this opportunity to share our message with the world, with those who will be hearing it. And I'll see you next time.
Yes, thank you so much, Melinda. Thank you, Eternal Presence, Eternal God, Living Light, Eternal Christ. And thank you for all this powerful blessing that is coming upon these people who are hearing and whose hearts are ready to receive in your unique way, receive these truths in your unique way. And may you be blessed this year, and may this be a beginning of something great and grand and mighty. So it is.
So it
Okay,
is.
we will see you soon again. Ciao.
Yes, bye.